Radharani Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Jaya Giridharadhari Jaya Giridharadhari Jaya Gopi Jaya Yashodanandana Jaya Bhaja Janarandana 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 Yamuna Chirabangachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Yamuna Chirabangachari Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna 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 Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jayo Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Radhe, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Radha Madan Mohan, Sri Radhe, Jaya Gauranga, Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Jaya Gauranga, Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. So, today we read from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, and it is chapter 8. And the chapter is called, was soll ich machen? Das gesamte Teil. Okay. Das sollte durchsichtig sein. Jetzt sehe ich das Buch gar nicht. Okay, so the chapter is called The Authors Receiving the Orders of the Authorities, Krishna and Guru. So the author is receiving the orders of authorities, Krishna and Guru. So we are reading the verse 64. Yeah. Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
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 Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda.
Jaya Advaita Chanda Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
So, was steht auf der Tafel?
66.
Ach, das ist immer dieses.
Naja, ich hab ihr gesagt, sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. So, I will first read the verses before, and then we will come and read together. The 66 is on the board. Huh? I don't read the Bengali, I just read the English, and then. Like the full moon, he illuminated the entire assembly of the Vaishnavas by speaking Chaitanya Mangala, and by the nectar of his qualities, he increased their transcendental bliss. By his causeless mercy, he ordered me to write about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kashishvar Gosai Shishya Govinda Gosai.
Kashishvara Gosai, Shishya Govinda Gosai.
Kashishvar Gosai Nira Shishya Govinda Gosai.
Kashishvara Gosai, Shishya Govinda Gosai.
Govinder Priya Shakvaka Tara Shamanani. Govindera Priya Shevaka Tara Shamanani. Kashishra Gosani Shisha Govinda Gosani. Govindara Priya Shevakara Tara Samanani. Kashishar Gosani Sisha Govinda Gosani. Govindera Priya Kaivasa Nani. Kashishvara Gosanina Shisha Govinda Gosani. Govindera Priya Kaivasa Nani. Kashishvara Govinda Rashisha Govinda Gosani. Govindeya Priya Nani. Kashishvara Gosarai. Of Kashishvara Goswami. Shisha, disciple. Govinda, the name of Govinda. Gosani, spiritual master. Govindara, of Govinda. Priya Sevaka, most confidential servitor. Tanra, his. Sama, equal. Nani is none. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Govinda Goswami, the priest engaged in the service of Lord Govinda in Vrindavan, was a disciple of Kashishvara Goswami. There was no servant more dear to Govinda, more dear to the Govinda deity. Purport. Kashishvara Goswami, also known as Kashishvara Pandit, was a disciple of Ishvara Puri and the son of Vasudev Bhattacharya, who belonged to the dynasty of Kalinjara Kanu. His surname was Chundiri. His nephew, his sister's son, who was named Ruda Pandit, was the original priest of Vallabhadrapura, which is situated about 1 mile from the Srirampura railway station near the village of Chatara. Installed there are the deities of Radha Govinda and Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Kashishvara Goswami was a very strong man, and therefore when Lord Chaitanya visited the temple of Jagannath, he used to protect the Lord from the crowds. Another of his duties was to distribute prasad to the devotees after kirtana. He was also one of the contemporary of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who was with the Lord in Jagannath Puri. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur also visited this temple as at Vallabhapura. At that time, the person in charge was a Shaivite, Sri Shiva Chandra Chaudhuri, who was a descendant of Kashishvara Goswami's brother. In Vallabhapura, there was a permanent arrangement to cook 9 kilos of rice, vegetables, and other foodstuffs. And near the village, there is sufficient land which belongs to the deities, of which this rice was grown. Unfortunately, the descendants of Kashishvara Goswami's brother have sold a major portion of this land, and therefore the deity worship has now been hampered. It is said in the Gaura Gonodesha Dipika that the servant of Krishna in Vrindavan named Bringara descended as Kashishvara Goswami during the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In our household life, we also sometimes visited this temple of Vallabhapura and took prasad there at noon. The deities of this temple, Shri Shri Radha Govinda and the Gauranga Vigraha, are extremely beautiful. Near the Vallabhapura is another beautiful temple of Jagannath. We sometimes used to take prasad in this Jagannath temple also. These two temples are situated within 1 mile radius of the Srirampura railway station near Calcutta. So we read the verses again. Like the full moon, he illuminated the entire assembly of Vaishnavas by speaking Chaitanya Mangala, and by the nectar of his qualities, he increased their transcendental bliss. By his causeless mercy, he ordered me to write about the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Govinda Gosai, the priest engaged in the service of Lord Govinda in Vrindavan, was a disciple of Kashishvara Goswami. There is no servant more dear to the Govinda deity. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnana Shalakaya Chakshun Militam Yena Tashmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Shtabitam Yena Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here we are in the middle of a chapter where the devotee who is here, Srila Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, he is here speaking about how it came to the point that he got inspired and empowered to write the Chaitanya Charitamrita. At this time, at the Govindaji temple in Vrindavan, there was many Vaishnavas. They would come together, and because Lord Chaitanya, at this time, Lord Chaitanya had already passed. So at this time, the devotees, they were like just to keep each other alive in devotional service. They would come together and they would talk about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And at this time, Vrindavan Das Thakur, he had already written a book, which is, now we know this book as Chaitanya Bhagavata, but at this time this book was called Chaitanya Mangala. So they would be there together. Vrindavan Das Thakur, he was also there, and he would speak from his Chaitanya Mangala was the name of the book at that time. So he would speak from this book, and everybody would be really inspired. So his book, the book from Vrindavan Das Thakur, this was mainly describing all the early pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, the Chaitanya pastimes which are there in Mayapur, in Navadvip, his childhood pastimes. There was lots of descriptions in this book. There was lots of descriptions of many funny pastimes which happened in Navadvip, even before Lord Chaitanya had manifested himself as Lord Chaitanya, when he was still Nimai Pandit, and how the devotees, they would try to avoid Nimai, because he always wanted to discuss, and he always wanted to he was just like a debater, and would get into argument with him. So when they saw Nimai, he would, especially different devotees, Srinivasacharya, he would see Nimai, he would come the road, so he would just take another way so that he would not meet him face to face. He would try to avoid him. So all these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, there are pastimes in the Chaitanya Bhagavata, how they would, Lord Chaitanya, he say, today we will put on a musical drama. And then he would get everybody engaged, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda, Gadadhar Pandit. They would all play all different kinds of personalities in this musical drama. Actually, it was not a musical, it was a dancing drama. It was a dancing drama. They were going to put on a dancing drama, and they all had to be in costumes and play different roles in this drama. So they would all take place. So all of these different pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, which took place in Navadvip, they were all there in the Chaitanya Mangala, this book which is praised here, which is, I want to, just that we understand the difference. There is this book. This is the Chaitanya. Now the name is Chaitanya Bhagavata, and the name was changed because later, this book was written first by Vrindavan Das Thakur, the Chaitanya. At that time, Chaitanya Mangala, but later, Lochan Das Thakur, he wrote the Chaitanya Mangala. So not to have two books with the same name, The first book which was written by Vrindavan Das Thakur, changed the name to Chaitanya Bhagavata. So this book is actually, there is a reading of this book which you can listen to, and there you can hear all the pastimes. It's written by, read by Titiksha Karunika, Prabhupada disciple. He's also a musician, so he's reading very beautifully. So, but there is not, he is reading only the verses, but there are like 8 volumes, 7, 8 volumes of this book is there, and this is like a huge special book, because the commentaries, like we have commentaries and purports by Srila Prabhupada, the commentaries in this book is written by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So you can read this book with the original commentaries of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. So this is, it's not, his English is not so easy. I recently read this prayer book he has translated of the Govindam Adi Purusham, of these prayers, the Brahma Samhita prayer, and his English from Bhaktisiddhanta, it's, you really have to, it's very old and it's very high and aristocratic English, so it's not so easy to understand. You need a word book next to you sometimes that you can understand. But, and this may be the same with this. I have only heard the reading of it, like an audiobook from Titiksha Karunika, and that's very nice to listen. You can hear all the pastimes of Mahaprabhu, especially these early pastimes. But the whole point is that for the Shri Chaitanya Charitamrita, when Krishnadas Kaviraj, he was, all the devotees, they were there, they were churning all the nectar of Lord Chaitanya. They were hearing again and again all these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, but they were missing the later pastimes. They were missing his Puri pastimes. They were missing the philosophical, he had these discussions with Sanatana Goswami, with Rupa Goswami. Lord Chaitanya, he became very deeply philosophical with different personalities. And this was not there in Chaitanya Bhagavatam. So therefore, all the devotees together, they were requesting, can you please, you can do it, Krishnadas Kaviraj, you can do it. You can write these later pastimes. So Krishnadas Kaviraj, of course, he was very humbled, and in the beginning of this chapter, he's saying, I'm like a crazy person now, starting to write this book. This is completely over my capacity. But because he was requested by all of the devotees, and later also who were all teachers, all the senior persons in his life were requesting him, and therefore he took it very deep to heart that he is actually going to do this. And then he went to the deity of Radha Madan Mohan. Madan Gopal was the original name of this deity, but later the deity of Sanatana Goswami became Madan Mohan deity. So he went to the deities, and when he was there in front of the deities and praying for the mercy of these deities, the garland fell from the Lord's neck. And all the devotees saw that, and the pujari also, immediately he took the garland and gave to him, and immediately he understood, this is the confirmation. I'm going to write this book about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes. So this is some of the essence in this chapter, and there are many really interesting verses in this chapter. There are one of the early verses where the logicians, they say, unless one gains understanding through logic and argument, how can one decide upon a worshipable deity? So unless you get it like through your intelligence, how can you start to worship any deity, any form of God? And then the next verse in Srila Prabhupada, he actually quotes this verse. On some occasions he quotes this verse, and when Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse, his voice is almost like breaking in emotion, because the verse is saying, if you indeed are interested in logic and argument, kindly apply it to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you do so, you will find it to be strictly wonderful. So if we want to use logic and argument, then we should try to put the mercy of Lord Chaitanya under the magnifying glass. We have to, how is this mercy is there of Lord Chaitanya? And if you do that, you will see it is strictly wonderful. There is no comparison to the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there are verses like this in this chapter, which are very special verses, which are building up to the empowerment. He's Krishnadas Kaviraj, he's getting this empowerment, but he's building up with different verses. And he's also making, over a few verses, he's making the point that if you only chant the name of Krishna without having the chanting the names of Shri Krishna, Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar, Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda, then your chanting of the holy names, they do not have the effect. You need the mercy of the Panchatattva. And at the point when this part of this book was, when Srila Prabhupada was speaking this part, he was dictating this part, the devotee who were transcribing, he went to Prabhupada, because there's a purport, Srila Prabhupada, he's speaking about the power. So Srila Prabhupada is speaking about the power of the Panchatattva mantra. And then the devotees, they are asking Prabhupada, so what is this power of the Panchatattva mantra? Why is this so important? And Srila Prabhupada is saying, chanting the Panchatattva mantra, it's 1,000 times more powerful than the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. And the devotees, they're like, but Prabhupada, then we should start to chant rounds of the Panchatattva mantra. And Srila Prabhupada said, no, that we do not. And the devotees, they couldn't understand. If it's more beneficial, if it's more powerful, why don't we chant rounds of Panchatattva mantra? But Prabhupada, he was very strong about this, and he said, no, because Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he asked us to chant the Hare Krishna mantra. But if we chant the Panchatattva mantra before we chant Hare Krishna, then the offenses, because Lord Chaitanya, he is not taking offenses, then we will be blessed, and our process of chanting will be in such a way that we can actually enter the holy name in an offenseless manner. So the power of the Panchatattva, this is also in this chapter, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, he's speaking about this, how important it is to take shelter of Lord Chaitanya, and how you cannot actually come to a higher state of spiritual life or any consciousness, what to speak of Krishna consciousness, if you are not blessed by the Panchatattva, and especially by Lord Nityananda and by Lord Chaitanya. So this is very wonderful. Something maybe, yeah, these were some points which are there. Of course, we have the whole purport here, which is so detailed, and how Srila Prabhupada, he is speaking, how he used to go to these places. And I was just checking on the parikram, because this year, Srila Nadumna Maharaj, he did the Kartik parikram, he did in Mayapur, in Calcutta, and in Puri. So they actually went in Calcutta, they went to many different places. And because these places are so recent, they are the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur in Calcutta. There is the Bhaktisar temple, the first temple that Bhaktisiddhanta had in Calcutta. There is the house. I forgot the name of the house, but there is the house where Srila Prabhupada met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. And two of these places, the house of Bhaktivinoda Thakur and the house of where Srila Prabhupada met Bhaktisiddhanta, they are both now in the hands of ISKCON. So they are now being maintained and all the worship, and there are all the things there are paintings of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, how he's sitting in a chair, and you can see the books behind him. You can now go in that room where that painting was painted, kind of like, and you can see the chair, you can see the working office, kind of like, with all the books of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you very much for this very interesting lecture. Is this house where extra this railway station was built until the house to Bhaktivinoda Thakur?
I don't. It's in Calcutta, so I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I remember only Bhaktivinoda Thakur was very busy. It was a high court judge.
Yeah.
And then, but he wanted to have more opportunity for his spiritual life also. And if I repeat it correctly, he moved somewhere, and so and the government wanted him to continue his services, and therefore they built extra a railway station under his door, so to say.
That he could easily access. Yeah. I'm not. If I had gone on the parikram, I could answer this question, but I didn't. I was here all the time. But I was just wanting to make the point that Srila Prabhupada, he is speaking about places where in this purport, he's speaking about places where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta used to go. And he is speaking even about places where he used to go, which are there. I mean, these places are still there. So it's just to see how we think when we read the Bhagavatam, then most of the pastimes, they are really kind of like really far away, because they took sometimes they took place in different kalpas and different millenniums and different, completely different yugas, and it was just a different. The timeline is not the Bhagavatam is not chronological. The topics are there, built up and building up to the pastimes of Krishna, like that. But the timeline itself is not there in the first 9 cantos. But the Chaitanya Chaitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavat, these are all. This just happened a blink away. It's 500 years. It's very close. So these places are still there. Devotees can go and visit these places. Srila Prabhupada went and visited these places. So, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and this is what this parikram. I was just following the classes because they were very professional. They had everything online, and if they couldn't have it online, they recorded it and posted it when they came back to Mayapur. Some of the places were very rural places. They went out, and then they could just record and then post it later. But all of these places, they are still there. And this is also what Krishnadas Kaviraj, he wanted to keep all of Lord Chaitanya's activities when they were still fresh in the memory of all the devotees. They would talk for hours, these pastimes of Lord Chaitanya. So they were keeping all these pastimes fresh, and when they were still fresh, they requested Kaviraj, please record them in a systematic way that we can have. And because Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj, because he was there together with Vrindavan Das Thakur, and because he had been listening to all the pastimes which were in Chaitanya Bhagavata, he knew exactly which one was not talked about yet. So he could it was like life. He knew this this is already in the Bhagavad. This I don't need to repeat it again because it's already there. I need to now concentrate and focus on all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya which have not yet been recorded. Because when I pass and the next generation and the next generation, then all of these pastimes, they are gone. The devotees are not gonna be able to remember. Those people who were actually physically there, they will be gone. So therefore he recorded, and this chapter which we're reading now, this is about how he got empowered to actually perform the task of. And he said, I am old and invalid, ill-fated. He speaks about himself in such a way, but he was really old. And he had to keep his eyes open with sticks. So there, this literature it's a mercy. It was only written by the mercy of he has authorities, he has the Vaishnava, he has the Guru, he has Lord Nityananda, which had appeared to him in a dream and given him instruction, go to Vrindavan and meet with all the Vaishnavas there. And when he came to Vrindavan and met with all the Vaishnavas there, then they all kind of like, the need was there. And because they had been speaking the whole Chaitanya Mangala by Vrindavan Das Thakur, because of this, the need was there. Okay, something else? Yes.
Only small practical question. How can I find these audiobook, also the Chaitanya Bhagavad audiobook?
This they are on YouTube. It's easy.
Also Chaitanya Bhagavad.
Chaitanya Bhagavad. Yeah. No, they are just like the chapters are there. They come in chapters, so you have to find a place where. And it doesn't even say who's reading it. I just recognize the voice. Yeah.
And what is the name from this Parikrama, this from last year?
No, this was this year.
25.
Yeah.
And what should I? Indradumna Swami official.
Yeah, but then you only get the classes from Indradumna Maharaj. But if you want to have like the whole parikram, there is one what is called Friends Forever. I think that's where they put the whole session, because they have they have very wonderful speakers. They had like Madhavananda was speaking, Sitala was speaking, Prabhupada disciple. They had one devotee from Mayapur, Gopal Gosai, I forgot his name, but he has been 40 years in Mayapur and he knew all the pastimes of Lord Chaitanya in Mayapur. He knew all the places, a very wonderful speaker. I think this place is called Friends Forever, something like that. And then you have all the 3 hours. You have Bhadrahari's kirtan. He would do the kirtan like every day. Bhadrahari, he's singing, like melting the hearts of everybody. All the Gurukul children came. The devotees came from Nepal, was specially invited. Very special parikram was happening. Yes, and I think the conclusion of the parikram was, we will do it again next year. I mean, the Vrindavan parikram had been there for many, many, many years, but now kind of like the experience of doing the parikram in Mayapur, Calcutta, and Jagannath Puri was so enlivening for everybody because it's so close. You go to these places. They went to the birthplace of Bhaktisiddhanta. They went to, in Puri, they went to many, many places which they even could enter one temple, Karnataka temple, one temple where devotees, for many, many years, devotees were not allowed to go inside. But because they act really as Paka Vaishnavas, everybody say, no, this is okay. You can go in. And also because the group is, half of them are Indian and half of them are from all over the world. So they cannot say half of you can go in and the other half not. They have to allow everybody to go in. So, yes. So this is happening. Shri Chaitanya Chaitamrita ki jai.
Manjula-mani.